These are the most fun nations in EU4. Categorically, unequivocally. I've got everything from playing tall to mad conquest to weird mission trees. If you're looking for your next EU4 playthrough, this is the video for you. But I expect something in return. You get the most fun you've ever had in EU4, and I get a degree. What I mean by this is I'm almost done with my master's degree. I just have to do a dissertation, which I'm doing on you guys, basically. So I need your help with some data, otherwise I will fail. So if you don't mind filling out a quick Google form from the comments down below, that would be amazing. Cheers, lads. Okay, so the reason I've put Jianzhou and Oirat in the same sort of lump of the video together is because they play fundamentally the same. They both beat up the Ming. Oirat is a bit more newbie friendly, I would say. And so for that reason, I personally would think Jianzhou is more fun because you have to build up a little bit. But let me go into why both these nations are kind of fun. So Oirat, first off, starts with some pretty nice ideas. They get corporation cost minus 20% and cavalry combat ability plus 20%, which is nice, don't get me wrong. But the more important reason why you would play as Oirat and why it's fun, firstly, because of this guy. You got a 2-5 general, it's always nice. Then, if you declare war on Ming for Mandate of Heaven on day 1, if you can defeat the Ming general in battle, you get this. They capture the Ming Emperor. Which gives you morale of armies as well as siege ability, at which point if you march on over, you still lose the battles of course, but you're more likely going to do that too. Which, look, big numbers reducing to 0, always fun. Look, we're all nerds here, okay? Now we're on 14%, but the second that this siege pops, and I'm trying to time my speech such that it finishes each sentence with a siege tick for dramatic effect, because the second that we win this siege, like that, we get the capture of Beijing, and then we get all of the northern provinces, right? So, I mean, that's just a great way to start the game. After this, you go through and take all of their stuff. You raise it all, you're playing as a horde. It's always good fun. The reason that I think Jianzhou is better, even though they're basically in the same sort of thing, category I should say, is because firstly, I prefer these traditions of morale of armies and national manpower modifier, but you have banners. So these things are special regiments that make you feel cool. That'll do extra stuff. There are like a lot of exploits to do with it, but we'll brush straight past that. For example, I made a video how you can get infinite money whenever you want using banners. But they have discipline plus 5%, and you don't get any sort of gimmicks like with Oirat and you know, instantly capturing the entirety of northern China. You do have missions that help with this sort of stuff, which I mean makes sense, and I think that Paradox implements it to make the game a little bit easier. But it's more of a gameplay loop. So you start out as this slot, and once you start to, well, let's just do it. Once you take enough provinces, you can switch into Manchu, and then from Manchu into Qing. You also get really cool ideas with regards to that as well. Specifically, that +1 shock is quite good, and morale of armies at the end. So it doesn't just front load your good ideas, you can get them later on. And you can do cool things like waiting and exploiting the whole unguarded nomadic frontier thing for Ming, which basically saps their mandate if you are a horde. It's just more of a satisfying moment when you take them out. For that reason, I think they're a little bit more fun. Like I said, after this point, both these nations fundamentally play the same. You essentially just conquer Ming outright. Oirat can go and do other things and conquer the world, so if you prefer that sort of stuff, then sure. But I'm trying to talk from the layman's perspective. I'm not Lambda going and conquering the world in like 10 minutes with a coffee break in between. So generally speaking, that's why I think this starts off as one of the most fun. Okay, next up on the list is Tunis. And I'm hearing people start calling that I'm biased. And yes, I am. But let me make my case, and then you can decide for yourself. The first thing that Tunis has that makes it a lot of fun is this, the raiding mechanic, the ability to just siphon income. And in this game, if you have more money than someone, you can generally attempt to outfight them. You have a plethora of different expansion options available to you. You start out by swallowing these smaller nations here. So if you are a newer player, you have that and the protection of the Ottomans, who generally can be allied very, very easily to help you on your way to dominate North Africa. If you're a little bit more experienced, you can use the income that you gain from raiding the Europeans to then conquer said Europeans. There is also a formidable nation of Al-Andalus right there, ready for you as a medium target, a very powerful formidable nation. And you don't have to go through the pain of Granada and Granada starts, which in my opinion is one of the absolute hardest starts in the game. Bear in mind, this is the most fun, right? So this is objective fact because I'm saying it's my video and they are absolutely more fun. Now, you might say, well, what about Morocco? Firstly, they're more fun than Tlemcen, hands down. Tlemcen is just a bit of a nothing character. Tunis also has its own ideas. They also have galley combat ability plus 20%, which gives them, straight off the bat, the most powerful navy in the game. Britain comes in these waters, Britain gets sunk due to galley spam. You get 100% more damage against other non-galleys. So if they put heavies in here, they're getting sunk, right? You combine that with 200%, 20% galley combat ability, and then a naval doctrine of 15% over here. Yeah, you're having a good time. So you might ask, well, why not Morocco? Morocco starts in, you might think, a better position. And you could say that, but the only issue with Morocco is if you slip up once, these guys become disloyal. Marrakesh, for example, or Sus, and then the Castilians have an open invite to engage in your affairs. It's also a little bit trickier, in my experience, to go and ally the Ottomans. So you're sort of a bit more diplomatically isolated, and you don't have that safety net. So if we talk about objective fun, Tunis is so much better. Tunis also has a mission tree. It's not exactly the most well fleshed out, but it is a unique mission tree, and so that does count in its favor. And it's not a bad mission tree either. You take out this slot, it gives you a free province down here and a route into West Africa. So again, if you don't want to go through the whole conquering Iberia route, you can very easily become master of Africa, because you can run around and West Africa is your playground. If you get enough of a technological difference, it's a bit of a stomp. Not a rollover, but still a decent stomp. So it's with Tunis you can sort of set your challenge. Morocco, you have to go and conquer because otherwise you will die. Tunis, you can rely on the Ottomans to protect you, attack the Mamluks if you feel like it, move into West Africa if you feel like it, dominate the Mediterranean if you feel like it, and on top of all of that, you don't really need to even make that much money, because if I run around doing this, which is easily the most satisfying thing in the game, I'm gathering up all of this income for things like institutions and otherwise. So I've just gained myself 500 ducats straight off the bat. And as you can see, I can ally Morocco if I want to. You also get, and a lot of people don't know this, the coastal raid range +1, which might not sound like much, but you can raid 3 provinces away. Tunis can raid 4. Again, doesn't sound like much, but if I have a province here, I can start raiding all of this stuff up here. The more areas that you can start like creating these little outposts, and I've done it before. One of the most fun campaigns, I'd never recorded it, was a little bit of an island hopping campaign, or I suppose a province hopping campaign as Tunis, where I pick up a province here, pick up a province there, and it's just to extend my raiding range. And then if someone tries to attack me, I have thousands of ducats that I could just dump on mercenaries. No one can beat Tunis at sea in the Mediterranean. Outside the Mediterranean, a little bit different. Inside the Mediterranean, no one's beaten the Tunisians. If you want even more of a challenge, you can also take out the Ottomans through, if you know CB Byzantium, take that and then sit on Constantinople, barrage and assault Gelibolu. Then you can take it immediately and your superior fleet will keep out the Ottomans on one side, so you can destroy them. That way the Mamluks will never give them access. It's an incredibly versatile nation. If you've never played as Tunis, I'm incredibly biased, but you 100% should. But there are other nations that I find more fun than Tunis. I know it's sacrilege, but we're going to get onto that, especially the number one, which I don't think you'll anticipate, but we'll get onto that pretty soon. Okay, next up we have a nation split in 3. We have Provence. Provence might not seem like that fun of a nation given you are surrounded by France. For that reason, I was debating whether or not to actually put Provence on this list because it does require a little bit of finagling. The French in the modern patch will more often than not break their alliance with you immediately, which kind of screws you over a little bit. So if you have all of these negative things happening, why is Provence that good? Firstly, for protection, you can move yourself into the Holy Roman Empire, should you, ally the Austrians if the French break their alliance with you. It's not that hard. But that doesn't make Provence fun. What makes Provence fun is this incredibly unique mission tree. Provence plays like a nation like no other. And the start of that is this. Having 100 total development, which you can get really easily by declaring war on the English for reconquest and calling in your buddies the French, provided they are not hostile towards you. So you'd start out like this, reconquesting Britain and immediately rushing up to all these provinces, provided you've been able to call them French, which I have because I have cheated. To be clear, this is the reason why Provence isn't higher on this list, because it's incredibly fun, but it can also be kind of frustrating. So we're going to speed things up a little bit here and take what we would take in the war. But eventually, after sitting on the war goal for long enough, you can sit here and take this land, which is enough to do this first one. So after this, you should go ahead and negotiate for Avignon, which gives you another free province. It's rather nice. Then you wait for the ruler of Aragon to die. If you choose to, of course. If you click this button now, you can get cores on all this land, which, you know what, we're going to do. Otherwise, you'll get a personal union. Then let's say you're able to do that because of reconquest is rather easy. You get restoration of the union against Aragon. And after having done this, you'll be led on a bit of a chase round. Well, round everywhere, really, because you start off with this one, gives you Restoration Union on Hungary. And let's say, congratulations, you managed to do that. All these vassals, by the way, are probably going to be disloyal, so you're in a bit of a tricky situation trying to keep them all as loyal as possible. And inevitably, once your truce with them is done, someone's going to support their independence. You need to just keep on going as far as possible. And then after that, you get a claim on the Al-Quds region. And let's say you just haul ass over there, because you've got to do this before the Age of Discovery is over, using copious amounts of mercenaries. This is also an achievement. This is a lot of fun. Using copious amounts of mercenaries and, I mean, luck and tenacity. And if you're vassal loyal, it makes life a lot easier. Also, if you ally the Venetians. And you manage to take this from the Mamluks, you get successful crusade for Jerusalem. And then after putting Jerusalem in a state, you can re-establish the kingdom of Jerusalem, which leads you down a whole other mission tree. So yeah, an incredibly wild campaign. If you know anything about history and you know about the good King Rene himself, trying to do it within his lifetime is difficult, but also very historically satisfying. So yeah, the reason this is lower down the list, despite this being all-time one of my favorite campaign runs, way more fun than the Ming one, just because of the sheer chaos that's involved. And bear in mind, you have a lot of Europe at this point, and you finish up as Jerusalem, is because it is hard. I will give you that. Trying to give a balance between something that's going to be fun for the average player, something that's going to be fun for a more advanced player and a beginner player. For example, the Ottomans is not really going to be that much fun on its own to an advanced player, in my opinion, because it's kind of easy. So something like this, I think, hits the sweet spot where, with some careful planning, you can pull off something insane. So if you are an intermediate player or you're a bit of a beginner player and you want a bit of a challenge, definitely go for Provence. 100% one of the most satisfying campaigns if you're able to pull off. But I will warn you, it's very difficult. So, from a chaotic, I guess, lust for different thrones and formations to a bit more of a chill campaign. Here we have Korea, one of the only nations that I'll play tour with and actually have a good time. And one of the reasons for that is their mission tree. Their mission tree is incredibly well thought out, including this whole plight of the peasantry thing. It gives a reason for you to develop your nation. Beyond just like, okay, bigger number, go up. You've got this whole thing of like, okay, there is inequality in your country, let's try and solve it. And if you don't solve it, it's backed up with actual game mechanics, where you're going to have peasant upheaval because you haven't distributed the wealth that you've gathered in your country appropriately. It's a lot of fun. And then you have generally sorting out your economy here with different development and freedom from factional strife, and then eventually you get Korean self-reliance. However, if you do want to go the conquest route, there are a couple of different places available to you, none of whom are easy, but given that you have a 655 starting ruler, who, whilst he isn't young, is still enough that you can develop the Renaissance quite easily, means you'll have a technological advantage for years to come. Moreover, you can get a lot of income via selling this to the Ming, who can act as an endgame boss. What I like to do at the start, however, and I've made videos on this before, is build up your navy, and as Korea, this thing here, ship durability and morale hit when losing a ship, as well as permanent claims and an Admiral 60 tradition, which can be put to very, very nice use. You can declare war on the Japanese daimyos, land troops on these areas, and then blockade it, and then just let your war score build up. Claiming island after island and weakening the Japanese themselves. So all these missions are sort of geared towards quality over quantity. You have things like have at least 107.5% discipline, certain fractions of your army be artillery. Like it's a really good way to learn the game as well. I've never heard of someone having an unfun game as Korea. So definitely try this out, whether you're going to go the Japanese and Georgian expansion route or you're going to turtle up and develop this entire place to be a utopia. You can then from here also go for the colonialism institution and head out eastwards to try and find the new world and siphon income back through Japan that way. You have a unique government type as well in terms of inward focus, outward focus, and expansion focus. So you've got a nice balancing of bonuses and negatives. And on top of that, you have an idea group that is especially set for this kind of like playing tall campaign. You have construction costs here, you have advisor costs, which can be stacked quite nicely. Innovativeness gain, that's a very, very rare idea. Development cost, production efficiency, and idea cost. But you also have some decent military ideas. You have your morale of armies, infantry combat ability, you have some navy stuff, as well as land fire damage. So it's a very powerful idea set that allows you to take it in whichever way you want. Once you've started to develop, at any point you can declare war on Ming, and because of your technological supremacy, you can take them. If you want to double that up, you go over here, you take innovative ideas, make your innovativeness gain plus 100. For those of you who are a bit maybe new to the game who don't know what that is, that's this. It makes everything cheaper. Yeah, be a faithful tributary to the Ming, you can do that. Want to be an expansionist menace and take over the entire region? You can also do that. Want to play tall and just try and develop the science and race to the end of the game? It's one, like I've mentioned, I hate playing tall. If this is the first time you're watching me, you don't understand how much I hate playing tall. This is one of the only nations I'll sit and play tall with because it is a lot of fun. And there's a lot of flavor to it. You have the history behind Admiral Yi, and it's just what I would describe as a history-based... that's not how I describe it. Some nations in this game prompt me to look up their history and play accordingly. Korea is one of those nations where I will play the game and have Wikipedia, because God, I'm such a nerd. I'll have Wikipedia up on the other screen and I'll look through what Korea did, their ambitions, their aims, and try and achieve them. Because that's essentially why we play EU4 for the most part. Okay, so this one is one that you might not have expected. Why Serbia? So, first off, cool mission tree. And one that makes sense, and one that is very satisfying to follow. There are some mission trees in EU4 where you follow them for the sake of following them, and it doesn't really make sense. This one does make sense. You have a terrifying Ottoman menace that you have to deal with at some point. But it's not quite like Byzantium where you have no choice, you have to attack them immediately, or like Albania where you don't have a starting point beyond Skanderbeg. Moreover, you have a gold mine, which is incredibly valuable. If I just pump this up a couple of times, we're making ridiculous amounts of money, which can mean that we're going to punch far above our weight. Serbia can take on Hungary in a 1v1 just based on his income. It does require some careful accounting, but you can dominate this entire region quite quickly. Within about 20 years, you should have most of this area done. And then you can look at fighting the Ottomans. This is where I try and account for balance here, because I wouldn't say that it's more fun than Provence, but I would say it's more reliably fun than Provence. That's just how things work for me, but there is still more of a challenge than Korea, and so that's why it's more fun than Korea, if that makes sense. So I'm trying to give a sense of why these rankings are here, because I know people are going to angrily type in the comments, or why did you say this, why did you say that? So I'm trying to articulate exactly why that is. It is a tricky enough campaign, especially with Venice coming after you and having one of your cores as well. But usually, as you can see here, you can ally Poland, you can usually ally Austria as well. Not too much of a difficulty on that front. I think Serbia has gotten a lot easier as the patches have gone on. If you also want to play pure expansionist, you can no-CB this region quite easily and then start expanding over there to really trap the Ottomans in. It depends how you want to play it. In terms of national ideas, you have manpower recovery speed plus 15%, as well as reinforced speed plus 15%. Really reflects on that Serbian idea of throw every single able man at the problem until it goes away, even though we're not Russia. We're still Orthodox, damn it, and we'll do what we goddamn want. We have some nice variety here in terms of cavalry cost and cavalry combat ability, as well as morale of armies, and then at the end you've got infantry combat ability. So a very militaristic nation without being overpowered. So you will be better and you will be able to punch above your weight. Also, this production efficiency is quite nice as well. But it's not like Prussia where you click a button and suddenly you're the best around. It's a very hardy nation in difficult terrain. So you get some interesting campaigns whereby you are holding out against a much larger opponent. For example, if I were to fight Venice right now, I could potentially do it by virtue of scorching the earth and fighting that sort of campaign. So the reason I like Serbia, in summary, is because it gives as close of an approximation to a guerrilla campaign in EU4 at the start as you're ever going to get, because you can punch far above your weight because of the gold mine, and the terrain favors you if you have a couple of forts around the place and are able to dash around. Moreover, if you want to expand into Italy, into the Caucasus region, then those options are available with the end boss, the Ottomans, staring right into your face the entire time. Okay, bit of a change of pace for Sirhind. And we're also outside of Europe, so don't be scared off. But Sirhind is quite fun, and the reason for that is this guy. You have a 33-year-old that has goods produced, years of separatism -5, and discipline +5. Moreover, he is hard-coded to be a ridiculous general. So as Sirhind, you have Indian Sultanate ideas. Really not that important. Oh yeah, to be clear, we are a vassal of Delhi. But we get this event. Won't even begin to pretend to be able to pronounce that. The rise of Bahlul. So we either remain loyal subjects, which is horrible, never do that. We immediately attack Delhi with Reconquest, and we get a bunch of free troops for doing so. There's an initial stack wipe, which is always very satisfying. Okay, you're making me look bad, game. This is meant to be a lightning war, and Bangladesh one almost finished as fast as the one with the 2 siege. Come on. I suppose we're trying to take out Nagara as well. Oh no. Oh no, don't get stack wiped. Oh, okay, good. That could have been bad. That could have been really embarrassing. Alright, they've unconditional. So we get incredibly rich land, basically for free. We take out Delhi. We become Delhi. So what do we get with Delhi? Well, it's more fun than regular Delhi because you get a great little war at the start of it. You get free troops when you're not really going to have that much manpower. And again, you have this guy, he's 35. He could live for another like 30 years of 4, 5, 6. Renaissance. Done. You've got conquest from the separatism and discipline. No worries. Your ideas, you have 15% cavalry compatibility and diplomatic reputation off the bat. So have loads of little vassals, which is then compounded with this linear taxation, which you get another one for. Assert control over Delhi? Yeah, sure. Oh, what's that? You get loads of claims and also specifically cores on Jampur. Some of this land is the richest in the game. 24, you have a core in it. All this stuff. You also have a really interesting intersection between Islam and India. Gives you lots of cool interactions in terms of flavor, as well as, well, the Rajputs is just generally a thing, but they're going to help out as well. Because of our Indian Sultanate's government type as well, tolerance of heathens not as big of a deal as you might imagine. So I want to hire the independent army and immediately go to stack wipe there. May or may not have lost with the independent army. Didn't expect them to be there. I didn't need the independent army anyway, because you know, you got this. You don't particularly have to be very skilled at the game just to click like this and then just go big man attack. So assuming you went through the ringer, and it's honestly, like I said, not that tricky. Just immediate stack wipe. I wasn't trying to prove my point. Cheers. Now the game's trying to be cooperative. Go over to Multan, take your core back over there. Try to co-belligerent to them, but honestly it doesn't really matter. And then we can go ahead and take our cores over here. See? No aggressive expansion for that. That'll definitely get us into coalition, but still. Anyway, at this point, you are now one of the most powerful nations on Earth, in a region where you can freely conquer, still got cores left, and a mission tree that will encourage just that. Each time you complete one of these missions, it gives you way more. And so the bigger you grow, the more you get. And all of this culminates in becoming an empire, but what you can do is then form Hindustan. So you have a clear end goal. So strong ideas as well in terms of core creation costs, a little bit of production efficiency, governing capacity modifier, which you're going to need for the amount of conquest. The other ideas aren't great, but again, Hindustan, not a bad formable in the least. And you're well on your way at this point to taking it. So within about 5 years, you should, yeah, you're looking pretty well. There, 4th rank, great power. We're larger than the Ottomans. Obviously, I sped things along, but you get my point. So Sirhind, definitely up on the list. If you want more of a laid-back campaign to just slowly conquer, this was my go-to when chilling out after exams, watching Netflix on one monitor and just playing as Sirhind into Delhi, and then you can vibe from there. It's a lot of fun. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Laith, I'm intrigued. Sirhind sounds great. A little bit laid back, but not enough for me. I don't want to be laid back. I want to take things at my own pace. So I want to be challenged, but I don't want things to be too challenging. And that's where I introduce Mr. Venice. Venice is one of the most fleshed out nations there is. You have a unique government type over here, tons of event flavor, and a really, really fun mission tree. Built obviously around securing income. If you know anything about the Italian states at this point, they're on their way out. Realistically, they're on their way out. Their heyday is done. But you can prevent that, and you can make a lot of money whilst doing that. You start out with +10, which means that, well, you're going to have a lot of technological dominance. If you switch that into advisors, you can also punch, again, far above your weight if you want to go and intervene in the HRE. Moreover, if you want to contend with the Ottomans day one, you can if you want to go after the Byzantines. But if you want a bit more of a chill campaign, then you can ally big players and sit there and snipe little trading ports. I did a challenge with Speed 5 where I tried to get these as high as possible, and I showed that you could beat the Ottomans, the Mamluks, everyone around here, the Austrians. It's not that tricky either. You might start with a force limit 24, but money means that that is completely irrelevant. In terms of ideas, you have yearly Republican tradition, which is good because it means that you can constantly get high monarch power. I was about to say monarch leaders, which obviously translates into a lot. Trade steering as well, very useful. And then from there, the rest of the ideas, some of them are better than others, admittedly. Diplomats, not useful. Trade efficiency, very useful for what you are. Yearly corruption is never bad. Sailors is okay. And then finishing off with some development costs, which is quite useful if you're going to be playing at all. But the ideas aren't what make Venice special. It's the little government mechanics, such as being able to place down trading posts like these, 50 admin, bang, nice little trading post. Now I've got more power in Ragusa. If I were to go ahead and fill out trade ideas like this, you can see we add it to our already existing merchants. Moreover, if we have ourselves some trade companies, each time you have a trade company that has provincial power equal to more than half of the trade nodes, 51%, you get another merchant. So if you want to start sniping areas, and you don't need that many because of trade company investments. Let's say I had these 3 regions here, suddenly get another merchant and I'm making even more money. So yeah, if you're not looking for a sort of conquer everything campaign and you're looking for more like incisive targeted conquest, this is 100% the gameplay for you, because like I said, you nick some stuff from the Mamluks, you nick some stuff from Genoa, you nick some stuff over here, you're going to be going for this province over here and these 3. The rest of it you don't really care about as trade companies, so you don't really care about, obviously to a degree you do, but you don't really care about the manpower or development of a province. You're more looking for how much trade it can bring you and how much money you can sit in Venice and make. I didn't even realize the Doge's Palace started at level 2. That's pretty good. Your Republic of Patricia is plus 1.55. So yeah, just keep on cycling in these great, incredible leaders, because you can bring in, where is it? There's another one here. Republicanism is another 0.2. And then you've got also special government mechanics such as consolidated power in the Doge. I've never once had a bad campaign as Venice. It's not too tricky. It's not even, I wouldn't even say it's that challenging, but it is a nice, more upgraded chill version. So there is a degree of danger, and you can't just zone out and do it, like for example Korea and maybe Sirhind. Both of those have a little bit of a different playstyle as well. But it's the flavor and the general history vibes that really make it for me in terms of Venice. But what if you want something completely different? You're not thinking about playing tool. You don't care about unique little trade and money-making mechanics. Don't worry, I got you. Welcome to the Great Horde. The Great Horde starts out in a bit of a meager state. A rump state of what was once the Golden Horde that encompassed all this area. The Great Horde is technically the successor state of that. You start out with a 002 in the air is a 132. The Great Horde is destined to fail in most games. But it doesn't have to be like that. You have a mission tree that is just, hey, take this, you get more claims. Take this, you get more claims. Take this, you get more claims. So what makes that interesting? For me, it is reforming the Golden Horde. There is an achievement with this that you have to do it before 1500, and it is a little bit of a challenge to do that, but once you do, you immediately become an empire. You have access to the Steppe Nomads thing here, which gives you plus 20% to your national manpower modifier, as well as your force limit, as well as minus 5 years of separatism, and then you can read it for yourself. But the movement speed is actually underrated. People sleep on that. Very, very good indeed. You have Horde ideas, same as everyone else, so that's aggressive expansion and years of separatism. So you have years of separatism minus 10 overall, which you can compound and get minus 20, which is kind of ridiculous. But you probably would want to take Porcels of the Steppes over here in Horde ideas and take that because it's really, really good. So what is the gameplay loop for the Great Horde? What should you be doing? Well, first up, you have 85% can be cavalry. So you need way, way more cavalry. And generally, conquer everything you see. Literally as simple as that. If I unpause here, people around me are going to ally each other. And on the 11th, you got to declare a war. So Kazan and Karaman, that sounds good to me. Go for those two. If you're feeling ballsy, call in Chagatai. But the key part is, once you click this button here, stop. You have to go through. Oh, 2-4, that's really good. And immediately try and conquer everything that you see. Can be tricky sometimes. I'm not gonna lie. I was looking at my phone, wasn't paying attention. But yeah, can be very, very tricky. But essentially what you want to be doing is taking out Kazan and Crimea right at the start. I mean, realistically, you wouldn't be able to do this all in one war. But you will have access to a gold mine. That'll help fund your exploits. At which point, you immediately declare war on the Muscovites. And you just keep on going, man. You can snipe all of the territory with a few one war against Muscovy. Also, this war against Muscovy is more fun than the Ming War because it's dicier. You typically will have low manpower, your funds will be running out, and you're fighting a far numerically superior force without like incredible modifiers apart from your Horde ones. Your Horde ones, by the way, being that if you are in flat terrain, then you get plus 25% shock. If you're not, you get minus 25%. The war you declare against Muscovy is a tribal conquest, so you show superiority. So you can get, what's the figure? It's 65% war score from just battles alone. So that's the 25% from the ticking, and then a max of 40% from battles themselves. And battles are worth a lot. So snipe 1 or 2 forts, and also you can just obliterate them. It's a lot of fun. Just do it. But your reward for all of that is clicking this button. Reforming the Golden Horde, which turns you into an empire and gives you special ideas. National manpower modifier plus 25%. Really, really solid. And then everything else is a little bit upgraded, really. You've got core correction cost minus 25%, which I think is the highest in the game. Cavalry combat ability plus 20%, which you can stack with other modifiers. Manpower recovery speed, also very good, and general tolerance. Because of how you're positioned as well, and the reason I think that the Great Horde is better than, for example, Uzbek, is that all this stuff can be turned into trade companies. Not the European stuff. The European stuff you have to develop yourself, but the other stuff all counts as different. So you'll get yourselves extra merchants. From here, all you need to do is take, in my opinion at least, horde ideas, then trade ideas, then humanist ideas, and you'll have no issues with money or any sort of rebellions. Right, for our penultimate and, in my opinion, second most fun nation EU4, we have the Pope, the Papal State, the big man himself. So the thing that makes the Pope so special, well, there's two things. The first is roleplay, and the second was unique flavor. You have a really cool mission tree that has a variety of different things. For example, founding the Vatican Library is an interesting one. So why do I highlight the mission tree specifically? Well, if I go ahead and embrace the Renaissance, we can click this, and then we get choices, which is always nice, including some really, really good ones. Like, there's nothing you can do. There's no real wrong choice here. These are all very strong. On top of this, the Pope has some pretty good bonuses that come from not just the national ideas, which themselves are kind of solid. Like, this is a really solid idea. It also comes over your ability to control the Curia, which comes with a whole host of other bonuses as well. Because of these unit bonuses, you'll be able to expand like no one else in this region, as well as generally having a better army. However, just focusing on roleplay, if I go ahead and do a little something like this, we can declare the Kingdom of God, which gives us Monarch Administration Skill +2, which is already ridiculous, with the Empire rank. And this is not a lot of territory. I've over-exaggerated, but this is, you'll most likely get this with about 500 development, 400 development, and you're already an empire. You also get this educational focus thing, so you get even more, so stack them up, boys, as well as permanent claims over the entirety of Italy and a rebrand of the Kingdom of God. So yeah, if you're looking for a bit of roleplay, that is definitely the gameplay for you. You start out as well in a very favorable situation with high development provinces in a very rich trade node, and everyone wants to be your friend because you are the Pope. But that's still not the number one choice. The number one choice has a very dear place in my heart, and that was before all the changes that happened to it. They made it incredibly overpowered. The Teutonic Order. First off, you start with Poland and Lithuania bearing down on you, and admittedly quite a tricky start, but one that you can quite niftily overcome. You start out with plus 5% discipline right off the bat, as well as cavalry combat ability. Your idea set is geared towards fighting. You can also make this even better through government reforms, and of course going down your mission tree. So Alliance of the North did buff all this 100%. I mean, look at this. Before it was a bit tricky to go into Poland, now you have a bit of a stomp. I just think that it's not as difficult as you might think. So people see Poland and Lithuania as something to be scared of, and like, sure, but if you're a moderately competent player, this is not a difficult war, or at least it's not a tremendously difficult war to win. Plus off the back, you can just do this, and you have yourself a vassal. Do the same thing with Austria, and you get yourself morale of armies, and now you get shock damage received. With all this, it's pretty simple to get yourself Miltech 4, especially with a 3-5, goddamn. Like, I'm not exactly playing this optimally, because I'm just trying to show it off. But even with mercenaries and everything else, we've got 3 forts that are all up, quite high base stacks, and the Baltic Sea is nothing to sniff at. You do have a disaster, but that's quite easy to solve. And you can do things like this. Goodbye, Polish army. Stag wiping in this game will never not be fun. Anyway, once you've won this war, you can go ahead, defeat Poland, avoid Prussia, because that's boring, and go down the Crusader mission path, which eventually leads you into Crusaders of the Steppes and to becoming a holy horde. So basically, you just conquer the steppe region. You can have 100% cavalry infantry ratio, so you just have a permanent cavalry army, and insane bonuses to that effect. So once you're around this size, you can scale through the mission tree and create a very unique kind of government type that the Teutonic Order has access to. And for that reason, and that reason alone, I think that the Teutonic Order are the most fun nation in EU4. Challenging start, but you have high base stats to be able to maintain an army, very, very good combat stats, and then you can snowball in the best possible way with mass cavalry armies. It's better than Oirat and Jianzhou because of the fact that they are Crusader armies, and it's a lot of fun. Just imagine. I want to know who came up with this because it's insane. So if you're a dev that watching this video, and it terrifies me that some of you are, and you were responsible for the Teutonic Order, you're certifiably insane, and I love you. So make yourself known. In any case, lads, that is my, I suppose, list of all of my most fun nations in EU4. Let me know if you agreed with them. Let me know ones that I missed out. I'm always intrigued to hear about the different ways that people have found fun campaigns. Livonian Order is one of those that I really enjoyed. Wallachia or Moldavia into Romania and impaling the Sultan, also one of those fun ones. I found a lot of the time, for example, with me with Tunis, you play a nation because you have a personal connection to it or you quite like the idea of it, and then after that you start to find out how much fun it is. So if that's the case, let me know in the comments down below. Please make sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to see more content like this, then I guess I'll do it. In any case, lads, I'll see you all next time. Goodbye. Huge shout out to my Patreons. Most importantly, Redguard76, Lewis Wright, Ryan B, Atreides, Blenderman, Crilly, Ghostwolf, JadeOut52, Sjalmi, Luke, Matthew McHugh, Mike473, Mikey Lewis, Original, ShadowSinger, and Tom. Your support means a lot, guys. Also here, why not watch another video? I mean, it's right there. Just click.